Miss Ronnie, could you give me a pen? Thank you. We live. Yeah, we better act like we live then. It's best to think you live. And we don't say nothing stupid. Yeah, Magic Johnson, baby. He cured it. So
Are we sitting okay? Do we need to move
the O line. Do I need to come closer to him, or do I need to? Do he need to move closer? How does it look, Miss Ronnie? Okay. Uh, okay. He was saying we got Harlan Gunn at center. We got Phil Costa. He said they had another guy that they was going.
what's the guy's name?
Yeah, Novikov, I think. Tyrone Novikov. Yeah, Novl. Yeah, LKOFL. TYRONE. I know it was Harlan Gunn.
Don Novikov, and there was another guy.
Yeah, he named,
I
but
wrote it down in my other notebook, and I didn't bring it with me. He said they were going to practice putting their hand on the ball. Arcing a little bit.
you know, I'm gonna tell you something, man.
There was another one of those tackles.
I don't like that feeling. I don't care how good of a coach you are, but and I know you have to be ready. And I heard him say you have to be ready, because you got 8 guys or 7 guys that you dress. I understand that. But we need 2 guys that can actually play center. You know what I'm saying? And for us to keep trying all these guys at center, that don't make me feel good. Either Phil Costa or Nagy can really do it.
Well, they're hoping Kowalski is healthy.
Right.
So you got Kowalski hurt, Bernardo hurt, Nagy hurt.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's scary. That's scary, Mick. That's scary because Tony. My issue is this: Tony Romo don't have quarterbacks don't have so many sacks in them.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
They used a bunch up last year.
Yeah, and so but you know what the big issue with that was? It wasn't just the offensive line. It was receivers early in the year not knowing where to go to,
Right.
and that hurt the offensive line in their confidence. I don't. Man.
No, save it.
Yeah, save because David is going to be our third guy today. Miss Ronnie, you're going to man the
Emails.
email. So now, how would you call that out? Would you get on?
She'll get the wireless mic.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Is she gonna wireless mic it? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we gonna get you, brother. You gonna be the star. What you gonna be better than you want to
You
be?
may run out of questions.
Yeah.
Oh, look out! The place is filling up.
Man, I should have got. How far we out, Dave?
Are the guys done signing now?
Hey,
Did you bring some people with you?
so we go to MaximumSports.com and I'm talking about to pull it up and stream. Okay, CowboySportsTours.com.
All right, let me know. We have that intro, the music. Dun dun dun.
Hey, Ronnie, call my wife and tell her how to get on. You got her number now. Don't say you don't. Tell her how to get on. Yeah, call her and tell her how to get online.
Sports Radio Roadshow featuring Jay Ratliff. Brought to you by Maximum Sports Connection. No one gets you closer to the Cowboys. Now, here are your hosts, Nate Newton and Mickey Spagnola.
Absolutely. That's us here live in Oxnard, California. We are at the Courtyard by Marriott, and if anybody's kind of in the area or thinking of joining us here over the next couple of weeks in training camp, come on by. We're off of Vineyard in 101, and Nate Newton's my partner. I am Mickey Spagnola, and we may rename this show as Cowboys Happy Hour.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
Whatever you think is best, Mick. I'm just excited to be
Happy
here.
hours after work, right? And we
Yes, it
just
is.
got done working. The Cowboys had 2 practices today, a walkthrough in the morning, an afternoon practice that went for 3 hours, 2:30 to 5:30. Did you ever practice for 3 hours? That's
All the
long,
time.
isn't it?
All the time.
All
Mick.
the time?
When Coach Landry, Jimmy cut it down to an hour and 45, but we had more hitting. So,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's a new NFL.
Coach
now.
Landry, when you were in Thousand Oaks?
Coach Landry would do it to you, man. I mean, yeah, it would get ugly with Coach Landry.
Did you lose your concentration?
No, I didn't. Couldn't afford to. I was a free agent.
Well, we're glad you guys are joining us here on CowboySportsTours.com, and there's a bunch of people here with Maximum Sports coming to the Cowboys training camp. They will practice again tomorrow, and it's a real practice tomorrow, Nate. They're putting pads
baby.
on, baby.
Pads, and
Huh?
I'm excited. I'm excited because the last 2 days, all the information I've been getting is been from you, Mickey.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I've been.
You don't
picking
like
your
watching
brain.
these,
I'm not watching
these
on
padless practices?
glorified walkthroughs. But tomorrow morning, I will be at the first practice because the guys will be a little more intense, and they may not practice as hard or walk through as hard tomorrow morning, getting ready for the afternoon glory.
Right. And for you folks that are on CowboySportsTours.com, Miss Ronnie is monitoring the emails. So if you got a question for Nate and I as we go through this show, email us. If it's a good one, she will put you on the air, basically, the best we can, and Nate will answer questions. We'll answer questions from our folks here in the audience. And, Nate, we probably should go through a little bit of what went on today. They had their morning walkthrough,
Yes, they
the
did.
hour walkthrough in the morning. I mentioned the afternoon practice, and more problems on the offensive line from a injury standpoint. Bill Nagy, who was working as the second-team center, trying to find somebody healthy enough to challenge Phil Costa for the starting job, ended up spraining his ankle in the first practice yesterday. It's a high ankle sprain. And Jason Garrett, when he said he wasn't sure exactly what the injury was, but it was a high ankle sprain to the same ankle that he fractured last year that cost him the rest of the season. And Jason said that he probably would not be practicing anytime soon. So we're talking probably he's going to miss the rest of training camp, which is kind of a blow to the depth of this offensive line. And now they got to get some other guys ready to play offensive line. Harlan Gunn, I didn't even know he was on the roster, Nate, and he's the backup center now.
You know what? And we talked both with Coach Callahan today about this situation. You'll never meet a more positive guy. You know, I wish
You could have played for him, huh?
I could have. Great teacher, great guy that believes in the basics of football, playing with great leverage, with aggression. But I couldn't have never been as upbeat as him. I mean, you've lost what is
Kowalski,
You lost him.
who was going to be the first guy to challenge Costa.
Right. Then you lose Bernardo.
Right, you got that?
You lose him, who was the next guy to challenge Phil Costa. I don't know if Phil Costa down in Louisiana with the root lady or what, voodoo lady or whatever, but everybody that challenges him seemed to get injured. Not for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but for months at a time.
Kowalski hasn't practiced since May.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now he's probably scared to come back. He's probably up in his room shaking in his boots.
McKenzie got hurt in March just
Yes.
working out.
Yes, he did. You know, but he shook Phil Costa's hand.
Yeah.
It seems like things
The voodoo
happen when
doll
you-
got him, huh?
Yeah, so Miss Rudolph got it. But anyway, this coach, Bill Callahan, is such a great teacher. To Jason Garrett, literally yesterday, told people, go sit in his meetings. He tell his other coaches to go sit in this guy's meetings because he will stop the film, make a guy get up out of his seat, physically go through what he's asking him to do, and just repeat it, word for word. This guy is meticulous, the word.
That's good.
Where he just go and he cares about every guy, and he try to prepare every guy for every position, which me as a left guard, right tackle, right guard, two positions I never wanted to face was the left tackle position, because you have to be a great super athlete to do this, in the center, because I just never felt comfortable with somebody's hand. I just never felt that way.
Yeah, and I understand that, and so and to Nate's point, this Harlan Gunn guy,
Yes.
who's now somebody knows his name. He's taking snaps with the second team, and I heard him getting on him. They were getting all over
Right,
Gunn. I'm
right.
going, hey, give the guy a break. No one knew he was here.
Right.
now, but they were coaching him up.
Yes, they were.
So they've got a little bit of a depth problem at the on the offensive line at center, a little bit at guard, because they really thought Mackenzie Bernardo would kind of be the guy at guard. He hasn't been there, so David Arkin and Ron Leary, the rookie free agent from Memphis, are kind of sharing snaps with the first round. And my understanding, Nate, on Leary is if it was only about physical ability, he would be the guy. But they're just not quite sure he's picking up all the offense and the nuances of the offense as a very inexperienced player.
This is where you have a guy that when they thought about this guy, when they scouted this guy back in college, and I mean all 32 teams, everybody had him as a third, fourth, fifth round pick.
Right.
He had cartilage problems. So nobody drafted this guy. So that when the Cowboys went at this guy, you correct me if I'm wrong, they went at him with a vengeance. They told him, this is the team. If you want an opportunity to play and if you assert yourself in the correct way and learn this offense, you have a chance to start. They not only told this kid that, but they went out and gave him guaranteed money as a free agent.
Yes.
So part of his contract is guaranteed. So they have a belief in this guy that if he can come along mentally, like you say, physically he has the tools, but if he can come along mentally, this will be a great find and a great steal for the Dallas Cowboys.
Did you ever hear the story about how they negotiated the contract with him?
Hey, Mick, that's
You
why
got a
we're
story?
here. You got the story.
All right. So
share
this
with
is
these people.
straight from Jerry.
Straight from Jerry. So it could be true.
So he's
to
a
certain
rookie.
point.
He goes through the draft, right?
Right.
Doesn't get drafted. So he's sitting there after the draft, and that's when they sign rookie free agents.
Yes, sir.
Was that what you were?
Yeah, I was
free
rookie free agent. No, I was a free agent, but I wasn't a rookie. But go ahead on.
But when you were, yeah, right.
I wasn't making no money. Go ahead on.
Right. So anyway, after the draft, the minute the draft's over, teams are allowed to start calling these guys.
Oh, yes, they are.
So the Cowboys were on the phone immediately with Ron Leary, agent. So the agent says, well, we're already signed with another team. And the Cowboys are like, well, that's impossible. We've just called. It's been a minute.
Right.
There's no way you signed. And the guy goes, oh, yeah, we already signed. So Jerry's like, give me the phone. So Jerry gets on the phone, and he says, hi, this is Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, and we would like to sign Ronald Leary. And the agent goes, well, I'm sorry, we're already signed. He goes, what do you mean you're already signed? He goes, we already signed. He goes, that's impossible. You can't have signed by now. I got to be the first or second person to call.
Right.
And he goes, no, I'm sorry. We've already signed the contract. And Jerry goes, so you mean you didn't talk to other teams before you signed and tried to make more money for your guy? And the agent goes, yeah, that's right. And Jerry goes, so you cost this kid $500,000 guaranteed? And the guy goes, oh, no, we haven't signed yet.
Hey, that's real though.
So they went and they actually, in rookie free agents,
Right.
They had a ceiling on how much you can spend on the entire group, and I think it was $75,000. That's all you could spend on
Right.
bonuses.
Right.
Because normally, if it's a good guy, they'd give him $15,000, $20,000
Right.
as a signing bonus. So what the Cowboys did, because they had the ceiling on the signing bonus, they gave him as much signing bonus as they could while signing all the other guys.
Right.
Then they guaranteed him a couple years of base salary.
That's right.
So this guy's going to be on the team.
Yeah, he's a baller. He's a player, physically, like you say. If he can just come along mentally and understand the mental part of the game, because that is what really separates players.
Hey,
is the mental part.
we're filling up in here. Look at this.
You know what? I tell you what.
What have you guys all been doing? This was starting at 6:30.
They just at practice trying to get autographs,
All right.
which I understand.
Did you get autographs? Yes? All right.
And then
Good.
I'm going to tell you what really happened, Mick, is that dude back there that's got the bird-like haircut. They had to duck him through, because people was trying to shoot at him. It's bird season or something.
All right, well, let's try this. Let's try this again for the folks that are listening on CowboySportsTours.com, because when we started the show, there was 3 people here. So welcome to Maxim Sports Radio Roadshow.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. See,
Yeah.
these people sitting at home now are jealous of you because they know they should be here in Oxnard with us. And by the way, we're renaming the show Cowboy Happy Hour, okay?
Yes. Yeah.
There we go. All right, we got it going now, huh?
Yes, you do, Mick.
And
I
by the way,
love it.
we're going to allow you guys to ask us some questions. We've got a wireless mic over here, and as I've told the people listening online, they can send in emails, and Ronnie will read them to us if they're nice, good ones, and we'll get you on the air.
And I think Miss Ronnie's going to give whoever has the best question, she's going to give you a little gift from the store. So whoever has the best question online, not you people here, you people here will get a great discount of full price to buy something.
That's Nate Newton, and I'm Mickey Spagnola, and we are really happy you guys are with us here at the Courtyard by Marriott. In Oxnard, California, Cowboys just finished their second day of training camp. We'll put on the pads tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
In the afternoon and kind of have a real practice. Now, the Cowboys kind of had some good news from an injury standpoint because yesterday it looked like they might have lost 2 players. Morris Claiborne didn't finish the practice. Des Bryant walked off. Looked like he had tweaked a knee, but bottom line was he had blisters from his cleats.
Yes.
And they wrapped up his foot, taped it up, and he was out there practicing again today, Nate. And I'll tell you what, and these guys, if they were out at practice, they saw it, right? He was a beast. Can't cover him, right? Yeah, it's amazing, and he looks like he knows what's going on. Amazing what a little experience in an offseason can do for a young wide receiver.
Nobody's going to ever question Dez after this year. I think things are going to be put in place to help Dez, not only on the field but off the field. So don't get down on him. I mean, we in the talk radio business myself. We've knocked him enough. So, be patient with him, and because I think things are going to get put in place. You heard today a lot of things where Mr. Jones say he's so mad that he can't talk to him. But understand this right here. I don't think Mr. Jones is mad. A lot of times he's a showman, and he'll say things that make the media just go into a frenzy
and posture for the commissioner.
Yes, because he don't want the commissioner to come in and put the drop the hammer on him. He's going to try to put something in place before the commissioner gets to him. So I think what I know for a fact that Mr. Jones, Stephen, and Coach Garrett is doing, they putting things in place to get his kid a chance to help himself. And same way with Big Ben with the Steelers, which he was in a way better position.
Right.
But the Steelers put things in place and then presented them to the commissioner because the commissioner was going to knock his head off. And I think that's what the commissioner going to do with Dez if Jerry don't have things in place.
It's kind of like a preemptive strike before that comes down. But he had another great practice today.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Claiborne is getting firsthand breaking in.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yes, sir. I mean, not once. I'm going to tell you, in Claiborne, he's a talent, and he will be, I think, a mainstay for the Dallas Cowboys as time go on. But I was telling Mickey, between Miles, Austin, and Dez, this kid can't run from goodness. And I ain't say greatness, I mean goodness. He can't run from it. I mean, you go over here, you facing Austin. You go over here, you facing Dez. and both of them can run routes. Both of them are powerful. So when you go up and bump and run, it's not like bump and running against Mississippi State or Louisiana Tech. You bump and run against some men. You know, so he's getting firsthand what it takes. And when they put on the pads, this won't get any easier. So this kid, by the time he get into this first real game Wednesday against those Giants, he'll be ready. I promise you he'll be ready.
These practices against some pretty good wide receivers will be ready, and it was, I think, fortunate that he was ready for practice today after it looked like he had hurt something yesterday, but it was just a sore leg. He took himself out, and he said he was dehydrated. He told me he was dehydrated after practice, and he was out there again today. He got beat by Dez quite a few times again today, but this is a learning process, and I think what people tend to forget, and some people that you work with, by the way, tend to forget.
Yeah, we do, talk radio.
That this is his second, with veterans.
Yes.
Second real practice since January 9th. He missed the whole offseason, rehabbing from the wrist surgery. And while he practiced 3 times last week at Valley Ranch, it was against guys that aren't going to be in this league come September 5th.
I tell you, when you look at the NFL, and you know, I tell people it's a big jump from high school to college. And I'll tell you a quick story about my son Trey. You know, I told Trey he won 3 state championships, won 1 national championship at South Lake Carroll. And I told him, I say, son, I said, you pretty good. I said, but what you finna face when you go to Texas is not everybody's out there is good. I said, you gonna get jammed on the line, guys gonna run you over, and he looking at me like, I'm a student of the game. I'm a student. I said, okay, you can be a student of whatever, but it's a difference between a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old that's been there a couple of years, that has developed mentally and physically. Well, what happened was he went up early. After Christmas, he went up early because he took advanced classes.
He finished early. Yeah.
So when December came, he was up, and they started practicing. And they say, hey, come on, Trey, you want to go? We finna go run some routes. And so the kid that the safety that the Seahawks drafted a couple of years ago, I can't think of his name.
Mitchell? Not Mitchell.
He walked up on Trey. He was a junior. He walked up on Trey in the slot because Trey went out to the slot. And he walked up on him, and Trey like, oh, man, I got this dude. Coach said, hut. He jammed my son up, almost broke his neck. My son called me, yo, Dad, guess what happened today? I said, what? What did you tell me was going to happen? So when you come from college, from high school to college, it's an adjustment. And when you come from college to pros, it ain't really got nothing to do with the physical. It's the mental.
Yeah.
Because now you are a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. In most cases, you're a 20-year-old or 21-year-old because you left early. You facing 30.
You men.
27, 30, grown men that's got kids and family members that's begging them for that paycheck, and they ain't trying to lose it to no young stud. They trying to break your neck.
Nate, I always say, and you see if you agree with me, the 3 hardest positions to transition to from college to the pro: quarterback, wide receiver, and cornerback.
Yeah. And don't forget left tackle.
Left tackle.
Yeah. Because left tackles and cornerbacks have the same responsibilities when they're young. You got to be able to be beaten, get up and digest what just happened and forget about it all within a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get up. Dez took him deep. He looked, he looked, and then he thought about it. Then he went and lined back up. I watched him. You know, you got to be able to be beaten, digest how you got beat, and come back and play again.
And I think the other thing that people, and you're going to read all this analysis because we have to have instant analysis now on tweets and blogs about how Claiborne get beat, but you need to understand one thing. The quarterback can't get touched. So basically he's in the pocket as long as he wants, and you got to cover forever.
Yes,
and it's a difficult chore especially for the cornerbacks because they're not giving them any help. They're playing man coverage. You're saying that's your guy. The safeties are taking guys. They're not playing any games or anything like that. So it's a little – because if you notice, the corners aren't backing off.
No.
They're playing man every play. And there's not a corner in this league that can cover good wide receivers all day long every snap. They're going to get beat.
Now, tomorrow evening, that would change is the people that would stay and watch tomorrow evening's practice. That would change because defensive linemen will be flying all around. Quarterback's got to make adjustments, and a lot of times they'll bring out the horn.
They have the horn for, I think it's, 5 seconds, maybe 6 seconds, and then it goes off, and that's considered a sack.
Yeah, and so they'll be, it'll be a different story tomorrow evening, and they'll be able to put their hands on them and really put some pressure on these receivers and try to knock them off their path. And that's when you'll begin to see Carr and Claiborne and all the guys that have a chance of making this team start to assert themselves.
And by the way,
have bad days, but it'll be better.
By the way, we also noticed today that when they first started practicing at Valley Ranch and then here, Morris Claiborne was on the right side, and yesterday Claiborne was on the right side, Carr was on the left, and that was kind of the idea of how they were going to start, we thought.
Right.
But today, Claiborne was on the left side and Carr was on the right side. And I was talking to Rob Ryan after practice, and he said, well, he goes, we number one, we just want to see which side they're most comfortable on. He said, so we'll continue to interchange them during training camp to see how it works out. He said, I'm not dead set on, well, because Carr's the veteran, he's going to be on the left side, because they both played right last year in their respective spots. And the other thing, Nate, that I thought was interesting that Ryan said is, he goes, and sometimes, he goes, we like to have our corners lock up with a certain receiver. So if I want somebody to lock up with a certain receiver, well, that guy's not going to line up on the same side. So I want my corners versatile enough to play both sides. So if I want him to lock up, no matter where that guy goes, he can play there. So I think we're going to continue to see that, trying to create versatility with those guys during training camp.
The one thing that when you can have two corners that can lock up like that, say, and take away your first and second receiver, sometimes your first and third receiver, depending on who it is, it allows you to blitz. It allows guys to come free, and it allows guys to outnumber the offense, versus when you don't have guys that can lock up. You're in a lot of zone, and you got your linebackers, especially your inside linebackers, dropping back all the time. You don't want that. Coach Ryan's defense is at its best when the more packages he can throw at you, the more times he can get guys free, and that just leads to Sean Lissamore and a lot of other guys helping D. Ware this year, showing the coaches that, we can break free and we can make some plays. So but by drafting Claiborne and Carr, bringing him in and paying him that big money, man, they hoping that they can slow down these receivers and get these other guys a chance to blossom, some of these young guys to blossom into who they need to be.
Okay, there's only so much knowledge Nate and I can impart on you guys, so we would like for you guys to ask what you want to know, what you may need to know or curious about, and Erwin there's got the microphone, and if you just get his attention.
Yeah,
IT, yeah. We don't need to be proper here.
Yeah. So do you want them to walk up, and do you want to walk to them, or how we going to do this?
Would you like to have them on camera when they ask their questions? Anybody got a question they want to come up here?
And you just come around behind the camera.
Don't be shy. Just because this is going all over the internet, all over the world, no big deal. Somebody over there said they had a question for sure.
Now, the way we want to do this, let's set some rules right now. The way we want to do this, we really don't need speeches. If you have a question,
if there's speeches to be given, we'll give them. Okay.
We don't want the cheerleaders. We ain't got enough money for that.
I'm Joseph Velasquez from Visalia, California. And my question was, who do you think is going to be the other inside linebacker starting next to Sean Lee?
Good question.
I know who they want to start, and that's Bruce Carter. But, Jason Garrett has said over and over, and Mick can back me or either go a different way, that he want competition. That's why they brought in Dan Connor, is a guy that can play the position and will play it real well. But if Bruce Carter shows that that he can be good while he grow at the position, he would be that guy. But I'm telling you now, I just think that they went out by signing Dan Connor and did a great job.
Yeah,
him.
I agree with Nate, and basically he was insurance against Carter not being ready to go because he has started in Carolina. He has played in this league for 4 years, and he knows his way around. His only shortcoming in those 4 years is he couldn't stay healthy. He kept getting injured. So now they're alternating snaps with the first team. Carter usually gets the first couple, and then Connor comes in and gets the next couple. So it's even competition, and they're going to let it play out. And really, Nate, no matter who wins the starting job, there'll be a role for the other guy on change-up defenses, special teams. They're going to utilize both of these guys. And Connor's a pretty sharp guy, and he was telling me one of the influences, he had two influences on why he signed with the Cowboys. Matter of fact, we just interviewed him today, and those people possibly listening in Dallas-Fort Worth, we do a Cowboys training camp wrap-up show on Fox Sports Southwest every night. It comes on after the Rangers post-game show, and Connor's our interview for tomorrow night. And he was saying that he played Rob Ryan's coaching staff, wherever he was at the time, was coaching the Senior Bowl, and he really liked how Ryan coached. And then he also played, remember, he's from Penn State. He was a teammate of Sean Lee's at Penn State, and they played together. And he said, this is like life coming back at me. And he goes, I said, so Sean Lee, has he changed? He goes, oh, no. He goes, a little bit. He goes, he was worse at Penn State, meaning worse as being so revved up about playing football and taking charge and being just so meticulous about everything he does.
Next to D. Ware, DeMarcus Ware, Sean Lee is the most important guy on his team because he understands where everybody needs to be. His motor is high. His enthusiasm is key. And I think when you play as well as he plays and understands the defense, the way he does, guys are going to build a trust in him. And when he says something, whether it sounds positive at the time or negative at the time, coming out of his mouth during the game, they're going to know that he means business. And that's the type guy that is built to be a leader. A guy that understands the defense, understanding how they're trying to attack the defense, and putting you in position to help you be a better player.
Quick story about Sean Lee. They had the practices for the rookies, selected veterans who were rehabbing injuries, and the quarterbacks Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before we came out here on Saturday. On Friday, it was late in the afternoon, I remember, because I was trying to pack up my stuff and get out of there. It was probably 4 or so. And there's Sean Lee.
Complex?
Huh? At the Cowboys complex at Valley Ranch. I about do, it seems like, yeah.
Oh, cool.
It wasn't my clothes. It was my working stuff.
Okay, all right.
There was Sean Lee in the weight room. He was working out. He didn't have to be there. They weren't required to be there. He was working out. And so I go, man, and I saw somebody came by, Broadus came by, and I said, Sean, he goes, oh, that ain't the whole story. I go, what's that? He goes, well, when I was outside running, he said he was out there with 2 of the guys in the strength and conditioning, and he was practicing his drops on pass coverage, just him. They were simulating somebody going out and somebody throwing the ball, and he was out there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday when it was 102 degrees, and he was working on his drops by himself.
And when you hear stories like that, man, it just, I tell people, man, Drew Brees for the New Orleans Saints is the same way. A couple of years ago, during his their open week, this dude out there, the coach hear him, the head coach hear him like, whoa, Sean Payton, like, what in the world is going on in the practice field? He goes out there, and this kid has got dummies set up and cones set up, and he throwing to these dummies and cones, simulating the game. And if you can get Sean Lee is passionate like that, and when you got a guy that's passionate like that, when he tell you to get in the A gap, and regardless of how he tell you, you're gonna get in that A gap,
right?
a passion for the game, an understanding of how to help this team. And they wanted to do a radio show. You know the story about how they wanted to do a radio show, and Sean Lee say, you know what, not now. Like why? He said, because we are not that good. I am not that good.
I got to be conscious of what I'm doing the next day, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many guys you going
Yeah, do
to
that.
turn down? And it was nice, a significant money he was going to make.
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
money.
Speaking of money, Ronnie over there looks like she's got some emails she wants to shoot at us.
I do. So number one, we have Kevin from Virginia, and he wants to know what is the deal with like the guys that don't pass the conditioning test? Is it something we worry about, or is it not a big deal? He namely Felix Jones. I'll give it to you guys.
I think it won't be a big deal. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, it is a big deal. I think that when as many guys that passed it that did, and there's 3 guys that didn't, then that tells me those 3 guys either didn't get it, didn't understand what they were supposed to do, or aren't very dependable. And the dependable part, to me, is the most disconcerting factor of this whole deal because, well, let's take an example. And plus, here's the deal. And in case everybody doesn't know what they were required to do, the skill players, and all 3 of the guys were skilled players, Brodney Poole, a safety, Andre Holmes, a wide receiver, Felix Jones, a running back, they were required to do 2 sets of 10 running 60 yards in 8 seconds. So you had to run 60 yards in 8 seconds. You got a 30-second rest. You had to come back and run 60 yards, so you had to do that 10 times. Then you got to rest 3 minutes, and then you had to do it all over again. So they couldn't do it. Those 3 guys, the positions they play, they run for a living. And you couldn't run. You couldn't be in shape. You know, back in the day, and Nate can certainly speak to this, he had trouble with the conditioning tests. Eric Williams had trouble with the conditioning test. Larry Allen had trouble. Flozell Adams. But we're talking guys that were 330 pounds. These guys run for a living. They should have been in shape. And I know for a fact that the defensive coordinator was really upset with Brodney Poole. I know for a fact that the guys on offense were upset with Holmes because they thought that he was a guy they were going to be able to depend on as a third quarterback or third wide receiver. And then Felix Jones, who I'm not giving him excuse, but he was rehabbing in the offseason, a shoulder surgery, and didn't get the chance to play football. But again, 80-some guys passed, Nate. 3 guys didn't.
I was just waiting for you to get through, Mick. Let me say something.
And I didn't answer the question
Yeah.
of what was the consequences of not passing, but go ahead and then I'll tell
Let me
them.
say something. This is first of all, you know, I went when I heard this. They said 3 guys didn't pass, and I'm like, oh man, golly, what offensive? I'm thinking, man, what offensive lineman? Then, you know, because I feel bad because I never passed the test, so I'm like, whoa, man, what offensive line? Then they said Andre Holmes, Brodney Poole, and Felix Jones, and it stumped me. It really did because Mike Warsick is one of the best strength coach and conditioning coaches in the league. He has 6 Super Bowls, all wins. And so when I look at Brodney Poole, this is one of Coach Ryan's guys that knows his system. So I went and dug around and talked to some people. And you know what, to be honest with you, Mr. Poole but his arrow need to be pointing up from this point on because he had not only his coach who fought for him to be here, he had the head coach really upset. Because when you're a veteran guy of 6, 7, 8 years and a coach, a defensive coordinator fight for you to be here, that means that you're going to be a leader. You know, you can take it for what it's worth. You did not lead. Okay, now, Mr. Holmes, the personal beef I got with him is he's a young guy, so I kind of halfway come from a school that have never played on top-level football. I kind of feel for him. I've been there, done that. But you had the owner GM, Mr. Jones, talking about you were his dream third down receiver. You almost fall to the back of the line because Coach Garrett wants competition. He just can't put you as the third guy going out there now. He has to take away a few reps. Now, don't get me wrong, and Mick will tell you, a few good catches, beat a few good corners, catch a few balls across the middle, you back in good graces. Felix Jones, I'm giving him a pass. Now, people say, why? You know what? He's a sprinter. He's a runner. But this guy, the very thing that – and anybody that's a runner and have sprinted, what's the main thing besides your legs you need to run? That's your upper body. And when he couldn't use his upper body, his core got weak. And when your core get weak, and I'm looking at a few of you guys, evidently you understand core. But anyway.
Why'd you look at that guy?
No, I looked at him too. So if I'm giving anybody the pass right now, it's Felix Jones.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
And but Mr.
And you know what he did? What you said about Holmes?
Yeah.
So Holmes, they can't practice until they pass the test.
That's right.
So Andre Holmes doesn't practice yesterday. Well, all of a sudden there's more snaps for other guys to take, and here's what happens. All of a sudden Tim Bedford makes a bunch of catches.
Yes, he does.
And everybody goes, oh, that's Tim Bedford, meaning the coaches. And then all of a sudden a guy that just got buried, I think, in OTAs and mini camps, Salim Hakeem, who has not played a lot of football and probably is a guy that will end up on the practice squad anyway, he starts making some catches. So now when Andre Holmes comes back, he's got two guys breathing down his neck that shouldn't have gotten the opportunity to breathe down his neck.
Thank you.
So here's what happens. They've got to pass the test before they're allowed to practice. They've got to prove to the coaching staff that they're in good enough shape to get through a practice. They are in what Jason Garrett called the remedial running group, okay? And they're running while everybody else is practicing, and I noticed that they were doing tests today.
Yeah.
Not tests, but they were timing, like trials, to
Right.
see if they were running their 60s in the allotted time. And my guess is probably tomorrow they'll retake the test and see if they're able to pass it. Once they pass it, then – it's more complicated because of the new CBA, Nate. They can't put pads on for 2 days. They got to go through no pads for 2 days before they're allowed to practice. So now, even if they pass tomorrow, there's a day off on Friday.
On Thursday.
Or Thursday. Friday, Saturday, and then all of a sudden Sunday is probably the first time they can practice.
Man, I'm hoping it's Saturday.
So
man.
they are kind of put themselves behind the 8 ball needlessly.
Okay. If you have any questions.
So who's next with a question? Come on up. Come on up.
We need to get somebody more stable than Miss Running because she can't be messing up the show.
She's doing two things. Huh? She's walking in front of the camera.
Please don't do that, please. It's your show and you're paying for it. Let's be more professional than that. Gee whiz.
What's your name and where are you from?
Arnold Belzil, Fountain Hills, Arizona.
Okay.
And first off, I just want to say thanks, Nate, for the great years with the Cowboys.
You're welcome, sir.
Don't you think, I feel like Phil Costa's been picked on a bit because they're always trying to replace him. When Stepnoski came in and then he had yourself and you had Gogan around him, all of a sudden he blossomed. Don't you think the upgrade in the guard play, if they can get that, would help elevate Costa to a new level?
Good one.
I think it will, and I think, once again, that Mike Warsick, being the strength coach and understanding what the needs are, these guys were not dummies. They were great competitors, but they needed strength. Now, whether we know whether they have reached the limits that they need to be at or the height that they need to be at, we won't know until tomorrow. And we only have 1 day of that. Then we have Thursday off. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll get to see back-to-back performances by these guys. Now, Phil Costas, what is his third year, Mick? Fourth year?
Third year.
Third year. So
second year, I think the first year he ended up mostly on the practice squad. Right.
So now he's had time to develop himself, but he is more specific now that the offensive line in the middle got pushed back a lot. So they've been specifically working on their leg strength and making sure they have the proper endurance and eating the right things. So these guys got to show the coaches, especially Coach Callahan, our new offensive line coach, that they really can do this. Now, I feel bad for Costa, but I'm going to say this right here, and you hear me say this a lot during the year. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, been one all my life, so I really don't care who wins the center job, and I don't care if they are picking on Phil Costa. He needs to do the job because we cannot go backwards. We have to go forward. So, Phil, you got a fan out here, call him and tweet him or whatever. Y'all go cry in the bed by yourselves, but do the job.
And I do agree with you that with a couple bigger guys next to him, it should help him out. It was a bad combination last year, Nate, with a undersized center. You had a young guy to the left who was undersized, and the veteran to the right was playing on 1 foot, Kyle Kozar.
And you know, that's a great loss in Kyle Kozar because if we could have just kept one veteran guy, if I had to pick one veteran guy that could help players through, like he was a great help to Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
And if we just had one guy that you could keep, you know, this is what the CBA does. It takes away a valuable veteran, a guy that can talk these guys through certain situations. He's a great guy. I wish we could bring him back as an assistant coach because this guy is first class.
And I did like when after practice today, Nate and I were listening to Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach, and somebody asked him about evaluating guys in practices that they've had so far, and he said he doesn't over-evaluate
not at this time, yes.
offensive linemen when they're not in pads because it's a different deal, and these guys haven't had pads on. So I'm sure you've read a whole bunch of blogs, a whole bunch of tweets about this and that on the guys on the offensive line and what they can't do. Well, they don't have pads on. And Nate will tell you that an offensive lineman who has to stop somebody that's charging at him and he doesn't have pads on and they can't be too physical, might as well be out there playing with his hands tied behind his back.
Definitely. In today's league and the way this thing is shaking down is that at any time if you get too physical and a player call in or something is brought up, the commissioner will say, hey, I need that day's practice. And if you go beyond what they want you to go, you will be fined some monetarily or either draft picks or both. So coaches are really careful in how they conduct their practices and how they have you being extra protective. I mean, guys used to go at loose balls. Guys used to dive on the ground, receivers, all that. You don't see a lot of that now because of the new bargaining agreement. So these guys got to be careful. But I'm telling you, starting tomorrow, and more importantly, starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you would get an opportunity if you guys are here to see these guys go after it during the afternoon practices, and I can't wait. You know, Mick has been to every practice, and he's watched players, and he's been seeing guys. But for what I need to see, it starts tomorrow.
And by the way, speaking of tomorrow, those of you who went practice today and probably were disappointed that they were on the other field practicing and it's hard to see, they should be back on the field closest to you tomorrow. So they try to alternate fields so they don't tear up one field too badly and can continue to use both fields. So that's a good thing for tomorrow. And then Thursday is an off day, so the fields will have a chance to recuperate, and I would imagine they'll be on the field closest to you on Friday also. Who's next to ask a question? Come on up, and Ronnie's got the microphone. Don't be shy. Everybody's
Remember now,
looking around. This is your opportunity.
Yes.
You don't get to talk to Nate Newton every day.
But not at least get my opinion anyway.
My name's Moses Cordero, and I'm from Sacramento, California. My question is, talking about Felix Jones, do you think he's going to still win the starting position over DeMarco Murray, or do you still going to have him as a – I believe he should be a third stringer because he's getting hurt too many years.
Well, I don't know about a third stringer. DeMarco Murray is going to be the starting running back, and Felix Jones will be a complimentary back, and he will return kickoffs. So they'll put him in that situation. I still think, Nate, he's got a dimension that this team doesn't have, and that's that speed that can threaten the defense, that when he's in the game, if they want to crowd the line of scrimmage, so be it. But if you don't stop him at the line of scrimmage, you could be in serious trouble. So I just think they need him on the field doing something.
Yeah, because he's valuable. The guy is good at what he does. He can come out of the backfield. He can get out wide and make things happen. He's a speed version of what the Cowboys need for DeMarco Murray can run, and he can get down the field, but I think Felix is just a little bit quicker, and so you can do just a little bit more with him in certain situations. But what you have to understand is, and what Jason Garrett has found last year is, he don't want to be forced to take a guy out of the game. And when you have DeMarco Murray, you're not forced to take a guy out of the game because he can do it all. He can block, he can run, and he can catch coming out of the backfield. So the less times you have to bring in packages and you can just switch your receivers around, which would be quicker, that you bring another dimension to the game. And when you can leave the same guys in, and that's what people don't understand. People think, oh, the more guys I can bring in and the more packages I can do, that ain't always what does it. If you look at the better teams, even going back to the 49ers who started the West Coast offense, they had a tight end, a fullback, a tailback.
They didn't mess around, huh?
And they didn't change a whole lot. You know, they move that fullback out to the slot, or they'll move that tailback out to the slot, you know, or they may bring in another tight end, but it was the same guys.
Having
and when we played, it was the same guys.
Right. But
The
having
more-
guys that
yeah,
are versatile,
that's
that can do more things, then you don't have to waste time bringing guys in off the bench. To
You
take
just
their
let
place.
guys play.
Let them play. Ronnie, we got anybody playing online here? Well, hey, we are short on time now. We
I
can't
know
be
we're starting to
hanging
get
out.
there.
All right.
Okay, so we've got Jim asking. He said that there's 2 long snappers. Do they always have 2 to give Ladouceur competition? Is there a chance that Ladouceur won't be our long snapper?
They normally have 2 in training camp, and they do like competition. And if they can find a young guy that can convince them that he can be as perfect as Ladouceur's been, and he's cheaper, then that's always a very big factor, because Ladouceur, what is he now, Nate? You got the thing there.
Yeah,
He's about 5 years in, maybe.
Yeah. But you know what, Mick?
I know.
I
I
don't-
don't want to save money there, but I'm just saying they experiment all the time in training camp.
You know what? You know what? A lot of things that I like for is competition.
Right.
But one thing I found out is there's no substitute for a long snapper. I don't, because all you need is to be in a crucial game, and this guy dumped one over the head. Oh, you know, all of a sudden,
You don't want to mess around with that.
Yeah, and you know, I went along with the getting rid of the punter, which I don't like punters. I don't like kickers. I don't really have no love for them. But you know what? We just got rid of a very, very good punter.
Yeah.
And I understand. You know, you want competition and you don't want to give a guy, but it's certain positions that I think that you don't play with. And it's the same positions that you don't play with the quarterback, you don't play with your left tackle, and you don't play with corners. When you have them, and you can, I'm not saying choke your team off for them, unless you're a quarterback. Choke your team off for a quarterback, but you just don't play with those positions, because those positions can change the game in a hurry.
All right, I'll go tell Ladouceur not to worry about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying that you just have to be careful when you have
Right. And you better be right if you make that decision,
Thank you,
right?
Thank you, Mick.
Ronnie, I'm sure you got a few more over there.
I do. Then I've got Kirk in Florida that wants to know. He says, I know camp just started, but what do you think the chances are the Cowboys will run with 2 quarterbacks on the roster this year?
Oh, I think there's an outside chance if they have to do that, just because they like Kyle Orton so well. But
What
I
was the
believe
question?
if they'd go with just 2 quarterbacks and not keep 3 on the 53-man roster. But I did hear Stephen Jones on Sunday say that they still are a fan of Stephen McGee, and they don't think that they want to go with less than 2 guys on the 53 at quarterback.
I just think you better keep 3 quarterbacks. I mean,
Because they don't have one that's eligible for the practice squad, by the way.
You know, the best move the Dallas Cowboys made this year, was getting the quarterback, Kyle Orton.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that was, besides getting Mike Warsick, the strength coach, I think that was the best move. And for him to want to come here, I'm excited. that means he's ready to accept this role. But he's had 80 starts, I think, if I'm correct. He's had 80 starts in the league.
60, what was it? I looked it up the other day. 69 of 71